They are nothing like I imagined they would be. Wow, I need to sit down. We can imagine, I managed, trying not to swoon. You spent 10 years of your life learning our language, just to speak to us with minimal confusion? We're honored. We're honored to be here. This is the Coalition's first time initiating a first contact scenario, so forgive us if we're not the smoothest at it, the puffy-backed creature spoke in a lighter voice. I think we should introduce ourselves and our respective species, Dustin. The tall creature paused, thinking for several seconds. Yes, I think we should. I'm Dustin Curtis, and I'm a xenobiologist. Discovering life forms from across the galaxy has, I confess, I'm itching to get a look at your wildlife up close. Once we become friends, as you might have cued in on, I'm a human from the planet Earth. I'm Nulia. I have a doctorate in sociology, so let's say I'm the one who's analyzed your national relations. I'm a Gojid, technically from the cradle, but I've lived on Skalga since I was a small child. The mid-sized one chimed in. The shortest alien hesitated before piping up tentatively. I'm Haliska. I'm here because my species is the only semi-aquatic race in the sapient coalition, so we share your love for water. For what it's worth, the humans, despite being land mammals through and through, adore. My species is the Thafki, and we live on the commune. Our homeworld was destroyed long ago. Your homeworld, my gasp of horror escaped a moment later, as I tried to imagine Ivrana just being gone. The way Haliska said it so calmly was concerning. I didn't know what this commune was either. Forgive me if I'm being insensitive, but what happened? Did someone attack? General Naltor asked, disregarding all notions of tact. Haliska's tail twitched with sadness. If I told you what happened without context, it would alarm you. Let me clarify that the species that did that to my homeworld has been isolated from the rest of the galaxy and are monitored by the SC. I'm afraid my planet was bombed, and our old allies did nothing to help us. Humans rescued some of our, hostages and have helped us build an official commune as something to call our own. It's a long story, and I don't want to sour first contact. You're not souring anything. We appreciate your honesty, and I'm sorry that's happened to the Thafki. I jumped in hastily, feeling a mix of shock and sympathy at this appalling story. I am worried by much of this history you've described. Naltor's eyes narrowed. I'm glad that my scientific friend shares my concerns. I also noted it was mentioned that you've never initiated a first contact, despite the fact you all know each other. Am I correct in assuming you had some major conflict? You can say that again, Dustin muttered. The SC is a newer. I'm afraid the galaxy's recent history is troubled, but I assure you that we've come here in the hopes of starting something better. It's of the utmost importance to us that we help you, yet minimize our impact on your culture. We wanted to come to you with honesty, while also not overwhelming you or stunting your individuality. It was interesting to hear the human address Naltor's colonization fears by expressing that they wanted to avoid a Nelman situation. The Selmer general folded his flippers in front of his thick blubber, scrutinizing the aliens with caution. He hesitated, before signaling for the military assets to stand down. I noticed the visitor's posture relax. From what they just described about there being a major conflict in the stars, I imagined they would recognize any type of weapon. It wasn't unlikely that they knew about our own history and had studied our military from above as well. Part of me was disappointed that these species were plagued by the same strife up in the stars that we were down here. What was the cause of this major conflict, one so horrible that entire worlds were destroyed? What brought the war to an end? And what happens if this quarantined species gets past the sapient coalition? The positives were that these beings were interested in communicating with us and had expressed multiple times that they didn't mean us any harm. While I could tell that General Naltor wanted to press them on this war issue and gather the entirety of the details, I wanted to learn more about why they decided to contact Lasman before any other nation. There was evidence this wasn't by chance. The aliens had found our probe, and Nulia indicated they knew our factional tendencies. There was a great deal that they could teach Bissams, even if their minds were less beyond us than I envisioned. But we'd have to find a way to juggle competing interests on Ivrana first. The last thing we needed was to be at each other's throats. It wouldn't take much for the Selmer, Ritala, and Saya nations to turn on their counterparts. With literal visitors from another world, Some naive voice in my brain prayed to hers that we would see the folly in our squabbles. However, if that meant that we'd just unify our guns against other planets, as it seemed had happened among these aliens, I wasn't sure that was any different. I hoped we could find a way to make the sapient coalition into friends of Bissums from all subspecies, and to make them not regret opening up the galactic community. There were thousands of questions about much lighter topics at the tip of my tongue. How many aliens were out? What were their cultural and anatomical quirks? Their greatest achievements and homeworld marvels? How did their spacefaring technology grant them the means to violate the speed limit of the universe? Or did it? Dustin, Nulia, and Haliska couldn't have known about Afei's messages any earlier than 2 decades ago, no matter how close their star was. That meant they were either within a few light years of our accounting for the signal's dispersal time and their travel, or they had FTL mechanism. "Excuse me, miss?" Haliska prompted. "What's your name?" Blood rushed to my forehead from embarrassment. "I apologize, I got lost in my thoughts. There's so many things I could ask you." "I'm Dr. Tassi from FAI, and this is General Naltor of the Lassian Military." "Dr. Tassi, don't worry, there'll be time to ask us absolutely anything you want," Dustin chuckled. "I'd like to thank your military friend for not shooting us." Nulia sighed in exasperation. "Don't joke about that." "Oh, I'm not joking. We definitely spooked these guys. I think we still have. I thought it'd be a simple invitation if they wanted to meet with us. I'm sorry for any alarm our presence has caused you. We're sentimental bastards. We like to do things personal, face to face. If you for some reason want us to leave, just ask and we'll go right now. Do not leave." Naltor's words were all but an order, and I cringed at how he spoke to the aliens. "Why, Lassman? Why did you pick us?" "You had the space program, and you're also the closest thing to a union of all Bissums," Haliska answered. "The Confederation of Vredal and the Merle Huddledom haven't given a shit about space in over a century." Never thought I'd hear casual profanity at first contact, but let's just waddle with it. "We thought about landing in Nelman, since it's off limits, forbidden for any settlements because of the Nell Armistice," Nulia remarked. "That would be neutral ground, but it's also a sore spot to start our relations."